right, everybody, welcome into NorCal Sports Network. Giants win it 5-3. If you watched the pregame, I said White Sox 5-4, but Ryan Meridian, is he in the house? He's in the house. He called it. He said 5-3 Giants. 5-3 Giants. Ryan called it. All right, the band. We shut the band up, and Ryan Meridian calls it tonight. Right on the. He nailed it. And Robert says he's glad my prediction was wrong. All right, Robert. Well, yep. It is a good thing I was wrong. Giants win. Giants win. Giants win. Giants win. Okay. All is well, Greg says. Dan has a Giants hat on. Yes. As I've worn it now 64 times. So the Giants get the win. They gain a half game on the idle Braves. And Lou is in the house. Lou, check your email. Lou Marston, check your email. I sent you a link to come on in and join me. All right. Los is not available tonight. I see people saying Giants are going to go to the playoffs. Well, let's hold your horses. They're beating the White Sox, and they barely hung on to beat the worst. I mean, this is a pathetic team, guys. The White Sox are pathetic. The Giants were fortunate that the White Sox had bases loaded, nobody out, and didn't score. And that's because Harrison got a player to strike out, and then a double play. Luis Robert hit the ball on the he hit it hard. And so Caleb Rossi, thank you. Says happy birthday, Dan. All right. Appreciate that, Caleb. You must have been watching the earlier show today. All right. Let me get to some member shout outs. Before I do get to some member shout outs, let's hit the top. We're here. We're covered by, we are broadcast here on YouTube, on formerly X, also or YouTube and X, formerly Twitter. My battery's going low. Hold on, guys. Let me plug it in. Something's amiss. Okay, hold on. That would be great to kill the whole show here. My battery. There we go. My power cord must have fallen out. So get that thing plugged in before we lose the whole show. But I will say this. We're on YouTube, X, and now we're also can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We also have some different things out there on Instagram, TikTok. So check us out, Facebook. We're all over. So I see some members I'll get to your member comments in the chat. Remember, if you want to become a member, how's that? If you want to become a member, just hit that sign up there on somewhere. It's $4.99 a month for a pro or something like that, or $7 for a little higher level. And we appreciate the support. You don't have to be a member to watch this show or to get your comments across. But because we do get so many comments, we can't read them all in the chat. So it's just something we kind of have to keep, for the most part, to either super chats or members, those type of things. So it's only $4.99 a month if you want to join. Thanks, Shell. I see your shout out for my birthday. Appreciate that. Guys, let's get to players of the game. Players of the game. My player of the game is none other than Curt Casali. And why do I say Curt Casali is my player of the game? Let me pull that up here, the box score. All right, we're getting the box score pulled up. I'm going to tell you why I believe Kurt Casale is the player of the game. Some of you guys will probably sharp enough to figure that out because you guys are sharp people. But let me go to the play-by-play of the game. All right. Is it up there? Yes. Okay. I need to just blow it up a little bit. Play-by-play. It was the 5th inning. The Giants were down 1-0. Here's the inning. Yaz grounded out to start the inning. Estrada singled to right. McRae got the bloop hit to left. 1 out, first and second. Kurt Casale is up. I'm thinking, oh gosh, don't hit it into a double play. Better off striking out than hitting into a double play because Casale's not that fleet of foot, right? So anything hit on the ground at an infielder is an inning-ending double play. But what does Casale do? He smashes the ball on a line drive to center field and brings in the tying run. Estrada scores, and McRae goes to third. So Casale got the tying run. Fitzgerald then doubled to left. McRae scored, Casale to third. Then Wade reached on an infield single, and Casale scored on that. And then Ramos hit the sac fly. 4-1. Chapman in the 6th hits a home run solo shot, which looks like it came in to be maybe a big play. In the no scoring the rest of the game for the Giants, but in the 8th, the White Sox get 2 across, and they left runners on second and third after ball got away from Casale. Second and third, and Benintendi struck out. And then they kind of rallied in the 9th, it looked like. Couple of guys on base again. And, maybe that was the 9th inning they left the tying runs on. Yeah, it was the 9th inning. White Sox had chances all night long. All night long, the White Sox had chances. In fact, how many men did the White Sox leave in scoring position? How many runners did the White Sox leave on base? It seemed like a ton. Let's see. Left on base, 10. Yeah, the White Sox left 10 men on base, and they were 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position. The difference in the ball game tonight, guys, was the Giants were 4 for 6. 4 for 6. What is that? 800? What is 4 for 6? 4 for 6. Yeah, 667. Okay. Hold on a second here, guys. 1 second here. All righty. Okay, let me go back to the screen here. So, yeah, 4 for 6 in runners in scoring position. And again, White Sox were 3 for 13. They look like the Giants. And that's why the White Sox are now 30 and 96. The White Sox are going to lose 100 games, guys, before the end of August. They got a full month of September to go. This team could easily break the record, the modern day record. I think, what is the modern day record? Is it like 120 losses or something like that with the Mets, or somebody lost 120, 122 ball games? But yeah, let's bring in the great Lou Marston, everybody. Hey, welcome, Lou.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Good. You know, I forgot to text you. I just sent you an email.
That's all right.
Starting the show, and I was waiting to hear from Los, and I didn't hear from him, so I just sent it to both of you. But glad you can join us here.
Thank you.
Interesting night at the Ball-Yard. I was just talking about how the White Sox were 3 for 13 in runners in scoring position. The Giants were 4 for 6. That was the key. I gave my star of the game to Kurt Casale. Reason being, in the bottom of the fifth, 2 men on, 1 out. Casale's just a great candidate for a double play and ends the inning. But he hits a sharp single to center, scoring Estrada from second, ties the game. And then didn't he end up hitting, was Casale 3 hits tonight? 2 for 3. 2 for 3. Chapman 2 for 3, had a good game. Conforto, another big game for him when he plays, 2 for 4. Wade 2 for 3. Giants had 12 hits. They had 4 players with 2 hits. Wade, Conforto, Chapman, and Casale. Everybody in the lineup got a hit except Yaz. And the question is this. If you looked at – I'm doing a Dave Fleming, losing my voice there. If you looked at the stats of Conforto versus Yaz, listen to this. In the last 15 games, Yaz is hitting – hold on. In the last 15 games, Mike Yastrzemski's hitting 196, 14 Ks, 333 slugging percentage, on base 255. Michael Conforto, on the other hand, last 15 games, hitting 370, 464 on base, 21% higher, or call it 20, 255 to 464, almost 20 percentage points higher on base. And who sat on the bench yesterday in Oakland? Conforto. So why do they play Yaz? Some people think it's because they're afraid of they only play Conforto. Some people believe they only play Conforto because Scott Boras, Farhan doesn't want to upset Scott Boras. That's nuts. Has nothing to do with Scott Boras because of the Giants trying to go get Juan Soto. Teams don't operate that way, period. They just don't. If they're going to play who they're going to play, they don't. Players do not, or I should say, front offices are not dictated by what they think their agent may do in the offseason. So, but I don't understand why they're not playing Conforto over Yaz. Do you have any thoughts on that, Lou?
Well, first of all, let me get back to Casale. I thought this might have been his best game of the year. Also in an important game because I was not happy with Harrison. I thought Harrison pulled 2 Houdinis in a row. 4th inning, runners first, third, no outs. He got out of it. 5th inning, back-to-back, bases loaded, nobody out. This is against the Chicago White Sox, who are only ahead of us with runners in scoring position for the season. We got very lucky. If you notice, the White Sox got more hits than we did this game. They got 11. We only got 10.
No, Giants had 12 tonight.
Oh, 12. I thought we only wound up at 10. My fault then. Yeah. But, 10 I was sort of worried because, the Giants, you got to remember, yesterday, they didn't hit it all, runner scoring position. And the one thing about Casale is he hit it the opposite way. I think we bring up too much where, one of the things about Yaz is every single time he strikes out, he tries to hit these balls like Barry Bonds, into the water. He doesn't really just flow. Every one of his pitches, it's like he's angry. Yeah, and I don't think they don't play Conforto and the Yaz conspiracy because of Boras. It means nothing. First of all, let's get this. I don't want, anytime I'm on, we're not going to talk about our free agents because we're not getting them. We're not going to go through this BS again. Okay? He's going to be with the Yankees or he's going to be with the Mets. He's not coming out to San Francisco. He enjoys the East Coast. And then let me ask you a question. You can go to the Yankees, not even make as much money to play with San Francisco because we're not going to pay him, first of all. but you have a guy who is going to be supporting you for the next 10 years in Judge. So it puts a little less pressure on you. If he comes out here, it's going to be like Bonds. They'll intentionally walk him. Who would want to come to a lineup that is so soft? So let's forget about him. We don't need this. We've done this way too many times. No free agents are going to come out here, especially with Farhan. All right, now let's get back to tonight's game. I'm a little bit worried about Harrison because you know what? He just doesn't have the it factor. I don't know if his arm maybe is getting a little bit tired, but, we've noticed now our pitchers, except for our two studs, every game's a question with our starting pitching. Tonight, why Casale was so big is that really sort of broke the ice. And then what happened? We actually did a thing that we don't do anymore, where we actually said we scored one run, let's get more. Let's get more. Let's get more. And that was the key to the game. He caught a great game, got some big hits. And you got to remember, until I think today, Dan, when I wrote you, he didn't know he was starting until about 5:20. And a lot of times, you go prep-wise where you're not going to start, you're relaxed. Sometimes when you get thrown in, there's no pressure. You're just doing your job. Right. And I think it was a huge fit. Tonight was probably his biggest game of the year because of what the Giants needed. And we talked about this last week. When you lose to the White Sox, it's like losing twice.
Right.
Okay? We need to win tonight, and we need to win tomorrow because we're going against a stud on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I know we have Webb, but, for a team that's not hitting, when you're going to go against a guy who's a stud, you're already going to go in mentally, and it makes it a lot tougher. So tonight was a huge, huge win.
Yeah. And Mark Graves just pointed out he had to 2 saves of potential wild pitches and kept the tying run on first. Yeah, he scooped that. Yeah, he looks – Casale played a good game.
Yeah, and this was if I remember, this was the first game he was actually going in for the save. He looked a little nervous. He was all over that in the 9th inning. Yeah. But hey, he got the job done. That's what's most important.
Yes. I want to get to the chat real quick because I see a lot of member comments in there, and I told you I'd get to those. So let me start running through those member chats here if I can. Mark Graves putting it out there for Greg Dayton. I love it. Thank you, Mark. My mods. I love my mods. Sully 916 says, first few innings I was a little nervous, but way to finish off a bad team. Robert Brown, who came in here the other night, he's a very knowledgeable, longtime Giants fan like me and you, Lou. Let's see. Robert says Giants need to win 5 of 6 against the pitiful Sox in Miami. Yes, they really do. They really do. And we're going to talk about the Giants' chances here in a moment. Michael says, great game. Maximus says, September will be brutal. Farhan will be gone mid-September. That would be a treat. That would be a treat. Today was my birthday. The best thing that could have happened is if they would have fired Farhan today, but they didn't. So didn't get my birthday wish, Lou. Sully 916 says, Griffin, we don't care what you think. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe that's okay. Griffin said September's historically been brutal for us. Okay. So Sully getting a little Sully on him. Good for Sully. James says, Robert, you should join as a member. Okay. Maximus, 16 cents a day, worth every cent. Thank you, Maximus. Appreciate that. That's a good way to look at it. 16 pennies a day, a dime, a nickel, and a penny. It's funny. People don't even want that kind of change, it seems like, anymore. Sully 916 says Casale for sure. What do we got in here? What else? As we scroll through. Good to see Corey Dixon in the house. Corey knows ball. Robert Brown, Chapman 2 for 3, but he just rarely comes through. Exactly. I got a tweet tonight. He has to improve. The Giants are going to make the playoffs. Robert, I got a text because I get people, they know how I feel about Matt Chapman. My feeling is Matt Chapman's an excellent ball player, but he's not that great for this team because he has to be the star and he has to, to be good. So here's my comment tonight on Matt Chapman. I wish I could pull it up on the
and it was a weak fly to center with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
When it counted.
Okay, so somebody wrote to me tonight on Twitter, said, to NorCal Sports, I mean a 20 home run season from a glove at third like Chapman. I will take it. I'm sorry, but he's been huge plus. I hope your mind has changed. Guy's a ball player. I hope he's back, whatever the salary is. And my response to this man was, I've said he's a good ball player, but he's still not a clutch hitter. Leaves too many runners in scoring position. But after watching him a full season, he's about what I expected. Great defender and base runner and plays every day, which is huge. You want a guy that goes out there every day. The problem is he's not great enough offensively to carry a poor hitting team. If the Giants had 2 or 3 true stars, he would be very valuable. To me, Matt Chapman is wasted on this team because they're paying him almost $20 million a year, but they don't have the horses he makes them better. I'll say that. He makes them better. But you know what? I'm going to stick with what my original thought was when in the offseason was, don't sign Chapman. You need more pitching. I'd rather have that money on pitching because Giants don't have enough pitching. And what is it today that they don't have enough of? Starting pitching. They don't have the horses to compete. You got Snell and Webb, and that's really it. Harrison gave you a good game tonight, 6 innings, 1 run, but he's not consistent. You can't count on Hayden Birdsong. You certainly can't count on Robbie Ray coming off Tommy John. So that was my take during the offseason. I thought Casey Schmidt could have been an everyday third baseman. Would he be as good as Chapman? Probably not, but he would have got the chance to develop. I think defensively, I don't think it's a huge downgrade with Casey Schmidt at third base. If you guys have watched this guy in Sacramento, Pickett at third, he's really got a great glove. And you've seen him in the infield, what he can do at second base, and that's not his natural position. Imagine what he can do. But I think we'll get a shot next year. I think Chapman opts out. Now, the question is, do the Giants go all after Chapman and decide they're done with Casey Schmidt as their third baseman after never giving him a real shot? How do you look at a guy like Casey Schmidt? I'm not saying Casey Schmidt is the answer. He may very well not be the answer. He very well may just be, a high draft pick that doesn't make it, Lou. But when are you going to give a kid like this an opportunity? You just blocked him this year. He's going to be 26, or is he already 26? Let me look. I'm going to look up Casey Schmidt's age and see how old he is. He's either 25 or 26 right now. Casey's 25. Okay. He turns 26, not till right before spring training, or actually the beginning of spring training, March 1st. So he turns 26. So he's 25. This to me would have been a great year to see what he can do. But the Giants are going all out to try and make this third wild card. It's still a long shot, but Lou, their chances improved a little bit in the last 24 hours. Why do I say that?
Because of the injury with Atlanta?
Yep. Austin Riley's out. Ozzie Albies is out. Acuna's been out. Strider's out. All they have really left is Matt Olson and Michael Harris, their center fielder. they don't have any real power now. I mean, Soler, maybe Matthew, who lives in Atlanta. I see him in the chat. Matthew, I'm asking you a question. I haven't looked at the Braves box score recently. Is Soler still out with a strained hamstring, or is he back in the lineup? I could look it up right now, but
Dan, here's my question. You bring it up. One of the things the Giants have done the last 3 years is they never really played the kids, or we wouldn't be in this situation. We signed Chapman to a 1-year opt-out. Well, 3 years with a year opt-out at the first, out of desperation.
Right.
Because we never gave the kids a chance. We all know. Here's the thing. Would you rather sign next year at opening day when Chapman's 32? Or would you give a young kid and get more pitching and get less pitching, or give a young kid a chance where you can get another solid arm? Because let's get one thing straight. We're not gonna sign Snell like people think we are. 5 years for $150 million. Okay, so let's throw that out there. Webb's gonna have to be our leader. We're not sure if Ray's ever gonna be the same pitcher off the surgery. He was great the first game where he did a Houdini act in LA, where I think he walked 6 guys in 2 innings, but only gave up 1 run. But, I was at the game last Wednesday against Atlanta. He went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 1 hit 2 batsmen, walked 3, and gave up 5 runs. So don't tell me that guy's an ace. Okay? That's just how it is after Tommy John. A lot of times, the second year after your surgery is better than your first. You're trying to regain everything. So you got to realize, do you want a 32-year-old Chapman? I never really followed WAR, but to tell you the truth, since Chapman looks so good in WAR, I sort of hate the stat. We all know about how great he is defensively, but look, here's typical Chapman tonight. He got the big home run solo. But when
up 4-1. Up 4-1.
Yeah, and we were up. But when it came up where we needed the big money hit, and that's why these guys get paid the big money, the money hit. It was a weak fly to center. It wasn't
he does that. He does that constantly. He does that constantly.
Yeah, and we know he does that. It's just like he strikes out a lot. So you got to realize that. Do we want to? And you know what? If we sign him for 5 years, we're not going to get him at 19. He's going to want a big deal because this is going to be the last one he's ever going to get.
I'll tell you, if they re-sign Chapman any more than a two-year deal, look, he's going to regress at some point. He was regressing. If I pulled up his stats, he has not hit 250 in. Hold on one second.
And he had a great game tonight. He's still at 247. And Dan, you said it. If he's batting 247 now by the middle of September, where maybe the Giants aren't doing well, he'll be back to his usual 240. Guys, this is 240. Okay, I know he's great defensively, but do we want to pay money, $25 million, for a guy that's only hitting 240? That's one of our biggest problems. If you look over the last 2 years of our batting averages, we're satisfied with 240. Most of the guys are batting 220. It's ridiculous. When me and Dan used to go to Candlestick, a guy batting 240 like a Mark Hill, he'd be the only player hitting below 250.
Correct.
He's just, you guys got to realize that.
Take a look at his he's hitting after tonight.
And look at his career batting average.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I want to look and see what his
241.
What is his batting average after tonight? He raised it up to 247. Okay, so he's hitting 247. Now take a look at, come on. All right. On the season, he got 1 RBI tonight. So he's now has 62 on the year. 62 RBIs. And he's your middle of the lineup guy, 4-5 hitter.
So he'll be lucky to get 80.
Correct.
75 maybe.
Yeah. And take a look at his averages here. Okay. So he's a 241 career hitter. Last year he hit 240. Year before that, 229, then 210, 232. I say he falls into that I said from the beginning he's going to hit anywhere between 220 and 240, depending on where he ends up the last couple of weeks of the season. Is he getting hot or is he in a slump? Because he does this up and down yo-yo. So, I mean, look at his RBIs. Best season he had was the year 2019, the juice balls season, where he hit 249 and drove in 91 runs with the A's. Okay. But 68, I'm not going to count. Well, the first year, it was only 290 at bats, but anything over 500 bats, 68 RBIs, 91. Forget the 2020 season. 72. How does he
have 100 RBIs with 36 homers?
Because you saw his homer tonight. This is what he does.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Look at his batting average that year, 249. And he does not hit with runners in scoring position generally. Most of his damage, of course he does it sometimes, but look, if you're going to pay this guy this much money, he's got to be, driving in. He should have 75 runs batted in right now. Minimum.
And he's batting fifth. So it's really not like the pressure of batting, third or fourth.
Yeah. I'm just not a Chapman guy when it comes to clutch hitting.
You know
what? I would, if I had the Yankees lineup, if I had Judge, Soto, and Stanton, I'll pay Matt Chapman $20 million easily.
You can hide him.
I'll put him down there at 7th or 8th, and I'll just let him hit down there, and I'm not going to worry about what he does. And he will be the difference for the Yankees of maybe making it to the World Series because he's a good player. Look, I am not saying Matt Chapman is not a good baseball player. He's a very, very good baseball player. He's really good at third base. He's a good base runner, minus the blunder he did against Detroit when he tried to run home with the infield in on a one hopper to the shortstop. That was nuts. But you know what? Everybody makes a mistake. So he's a good base runner. He plays every day, but he's not an all-star. He's just not. He didn't make the all-star team. He's the best player on the Giants for the most part on an average to below average team, period. Elliot Ramos has the most tools. Fitzgerald looks like, to me, he's the shortstop of the near future until he shows us otherwise. I think with guys like Ramos and Fitzgerald playing a full season, I think that's two guys that can hit you 25 homers. Okay? What you need to do, if you want to try to develop this team and see what they can make a run in a few years, they're not ready this year or next year or in 26. I don't see it. Things can change, but I think they're at least 3 years away from fielding a competitive team. But if you started playing the young guys, you would know. If you started playing Matos and Luciano and Schmidt to see what you have, you can make the evaluation and say, you know what? We don't think they are major league players. Let's move on from them this offseason. But you got to know. Giants have no clue.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
Luciano should be playing first base on this team. That's what I would pencil him in at. I think Marco, if he's in the game, I don't like a 22-year-old kid being a DH because his head's not fully engaged in the game. The game of baseball is not just hitting. You know, when I played ball and I had a stinking lousy at bat, I look forward to going out there and trying to make redemption out of it playing defense. Or if I screwed up on defense, like, well, at least I get to bat. So Marco Luciano, they should be getting him to learn first base. He's tall enough. He's flexible enough. Look, if he could play shortstop, you can play first base. It takes a little bit of learning skill, but they could teach him. And then you have a solid possible infield, but you don't know. You don't know. And you're going to probably, they have no idea. Matos didn't get the chance to really work himself out of a slump. Yes, he went into a slump, but so's Yaz. He's been in a long slump. How about Chapman's long slump earlier in the year? Did they stop playing him? No. This is the problem with Giants management is they have no plan to develop anybody, Lou, for the future.
Yeah, you can't just buy a championship. If you look at the teams that, like right now, I always think of Baltimore, right? They realize, hey, we have a great farm system. Let's see what we have. You know, they told the fans, hey, guys, it's going to be a couple years. Trust us. We know what we know what we're doing. And now they have the second best record in the American League. With the Giants, we've been talking about this for 3 years. You know, all we heard about is how great some of these players are. How people said, oh, Harrison's the best pitcher we've had since Mad Bum. Okay, Harrison isn't even close to Mad Bum. So what happens is we need to know what we have in AAA. The other thing is, to tell you the truth, Giants should be nowhere right now. We had to get a guy from AA that we have playing center field. You know, no one's even talked about that. Yeah, he's only on the team for a couple, maybe a week, but he's made a difference. You know, and
yeah, he did get moved up to AAA earlier in the year. So
yeah, but then he went back down just for defense. You know, guys, we're not trying to be mean. We're not trying to tell the Giants what to do, but other teams do it the right way. The Giants have not been giving the young kids an opportunity. So what do? Same thing last year. We're going to give the kids an opportunity. We only got lucky this year because of injuries. You know, we need to know what we have. Then when we go to the offseason, we realize, okay, we have 5 guys out of the 8 positions we need. Let's now get 3 guys that can fit in. You know, and that's what happens. These teams, you take baby steps. You know, you look at the Orioles, right? You look at what the Padres done. Look at Arizona, the same thing. You cannot talk about injuries. That's the other thing about the Giants. We're playing 500 ball, and we've been very blessed where none of our big guys have gotten injured. You know, Snell really never got injured. He just wasn't ready. He didn't have a spring training, right? But, you know, we're lucky, but we're 1 game over 500, guys. Okay? If you realize everybody above us since the trade deadline have better records than us. You know, you look at Arizona and San Diego, 19-3, 17-4. I'm not even sure what our record is. All I know is before we for the next.
Are you talking about record since the All-Star break or since
the trade deadline?
All right, so that trade deadline was on the 30th of the month, correct?
Correct.
All right, so let's just pull up the Giants' schedule, and we'll take a look at that. Go ahead.
And we talked about these 12 games. We said the Giants got to at least go 7-5 bare minimum, but they literally, we can't. You guys got to remember, there's only so few games left. We still got to jump 2 teams. Everyone talks about Atlanta, but the Mets are still ahead of us. We got to jump them too.
Right. Absolutely. So let's pull up the Giants schedule here. and we'll just take a quick peek at it. See if I can pull it up here. Well, wrong site. That's not going to give it to me. Let me go back here and take a look here. Come on. Where is their schedule? Sometimes it pops right up, and then other times it doesn't. Okay, here we go. All right. So let's pull this up right here. Let me get rid of this. Okay. Here is the Giants' schedule, Lou, since the All-Star or the trade deadline, which was July 30th on a Tuesday. So they lost. We'll count the 30th because it was before they played. So they're 1-1 after playing Oakland. And then we go to August. They won 5 of 7 on the road trip. So that would be 6-3. And then they beat the Tigers 2 in a row. They were 8-3. Then they lost 4 in a row. 8-4, 5, 6, 8-7. Then they beat the Braves 9-7. They lost the A's 9-8. 10. They're 11-8 since the trade deadline.
Other teams are 19-3. The teams above us.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
it's
and we talked about it with the Tigers coming in. We said what the Giants had to do with the Braves, with the A's. Everybody thought the A's weren't good. I was surprised. We got lucky. You got to remember, Snell pitched another gem. It was they were down 1-0 at one time on the road.
Right. Ramos home run. Hey, I said that game in my pregame. I thought the Giants would win 2-0, but I said, if they don't score off this A's pitcher and Snell is no longer in the game after giving up, no runs or 1 run, I could see the A's winning it late. And had that ball, remember that pitch, it was a borderline call, and I think it was a strike. That Kotze got thrown out of the game the half inning later, arguing it. It was a 3-0 pitch, and Snell threw it. I think it hit the top of the zone. Was it the top of the zone or on the corner? I can't remember. But anyway, made it a 3-1 count. He came back to get him out. Had he walked him, they would have lost the game. They would have lost because they would not have been able to score off Mason Miller. They weren't going to touch Mason Miller. So,
and they got lucky in the bottom of the 10th. The Giants go up 4-1, and all of a sudden it's 4-2, and the bases are loaded.
Yes.
Walker got lucky, and it was his second inning. So, he was working the slider good. I just think, we've been saying this all year. The Giants are just an average team.
Well, they showed it tonight, Lou. They let the White Sox almost come back. The White Sox were
White Sox are 3-24 in their last 27 games.
They're 30-96 on the season.
Yeah.
The White Sox
24
were 1 bloop hit away from tying that game in the 9th inning. And the 8th inning. And they left. They were 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position. This is this is why baseball is a grind. I almost sometimes think that an all-star, I don't like how the all-star team is selected sometimes with guys just with strong first halves. How about if you change the all-star team? If a guy's a rookie, fine. But how about if you factored in August and September of the previous season?
What so you give a award for the season before for next year's All-Star game?
Well, part of it.
Or how the managers are. Remember, the managers are. That's the way they. The people who manage are the managers from the World Series from before.
So, but you don't factor in a guy when he's hitting in the clutch. It's hard to have a good full season. Look at Patrick Bailey the last 2 years. Looks like a all-star, looks like the guy that could win the what do they call the guy? Silver Slugger Award for catchers. And then he just vanishes in the second half. This second year in a row. I mean, I have no problem with Patrick Bailey being, the Giants catcher. But I don't think the Giants need to find, in my opinion, they need to find a solid right-handed hitting catcher, kind of a guy by the name of like Joey Bart, for example. How about a Joey Bart, a guy who can hit for power and who's good defensively, that can platoon? You know what the Atlanta Braves have been doing all year? For the most part, they've been rotating Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah.
Every other game. They're not wearing now. I guess Murphy was hurt earlier in the year, but look, the Giants overuse Bailey where he's not effective.
And you can see it, Dan. That's the other thing, You have Chapman, who's good defensively, but he can't hit in the clutch. He's a 240 hitter. The same thing with Bailey. Great defensively, has a solid arm, but he's going to be 225 soon. I mean, I saw a stat over the weekend. He was 1 for his last 47.
Something crazy.
Something crazy. You guys can't have two guys in the lineup, and then you talk about a guy like Yaz who almost strikes out a third of the time. It's like, and the other thing is about the Giants. We've been talking about this for a couple of years because last year was such a disaster. We still don't have a flow to our offense, right? So what do? We have to adjust. You got to put Fitzgerald as the leadoff. Well, again, because of injuries. Well, maybe, Fitzgerald would be like a great 4th or 5th hitter. Move Chapman down a little bit so he doesn't have much pressure, But again, This is the Giants. I've been saying if we're going to have a great guy at third, I still think we should get a great first baseman. We all know Wade's not a first baseman. We got so many holes to our team, and that's the other reason. We have so many holes, guys that can't hit in the clutch. Our pitching staff now knows they almost have to pitch a shutout. That's why this team is very average.
Correct.
That's why we're average, guys. And again, Dan's going to talk about the upcoming schedule. After Wednesday, guys, watch out. Wednesday we're going against a great pitcher. Then we're going up to Seattle. Seattle's number 1 in the American League in ERA. They just can't score. But now we're going to have to go against 4 straight, great pitchers. That's why the Dodgers are struggling tonight.
I think the Dodgers held off and came up with 3.
Yeah, I saw 3-0 late. And then we go to Milwaukee. You guys think Seattle has good pitching? When we go to Milwaukee and when we have to come back Milwaukee here, they have a better bullpen than the Padres. All they have to do is get to the 4th or 5th inning and it's shut down.
Yes.
And that's the problem. The Giants don't score. They might score a run or they score late. You know what? These other teams, they get a 2-3-0 lead against us. It's over. We're not going to be coming back against some of these pitching staffs.
Correct. I'm just going to look quickly at the pitching matchups this weekend when they go to Seattle, see if they escape anybody. The Mariners have very few holes. Oh, they're facing Luis Castillo Friday night. How's that?
There you go.
Luis Castillo, Giants right now 62% to 37.6 for the Mariners. Hayden Birdsong pitching. On Saturday, they face George Kirby. Another, they are having Blake Snell go. But Sunday, they are going to face Brian Wu, who pitched tonight. And just to let you know what Brian Wu did tonight against the Dodgers, he was pretty good. He went, let me see, Brian Wu went 6 1/3, 2 hits, 2 earned runs against that tough lineup of the Dodgers that
was on the road. Now
in LA. Yeah,
that
had Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani and Will Smith in that lineup.
That's pretty good.
So he held them to 2 hits. Guys, it's going to be a tough road trip. Seattle, if Blake Snell doesn't come through Saturday and shut them down and the Giants actually score some runs, which won't be easy, they could easily get swept in Seattle.
And you can only ask Snell to do so much. My God, how about give him a little run support occasionally?
We got Aaron Lost in the chat tonight as a member. Aaron, I saw some comments in here from Aaron. Robert Brown says, since the All-Star break, we have a 40% winning percentage against teams in the playoff hunt. Wow. That's 4-6. That's,
that's about our average.
That's 8-12 record. That's a yeah. You're 8-12, or how about your 8-12? What are you? 12-18, 8-12. You win 4 of 6. Yeah, you're 12-18. That's pretty much how the Giants started their season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Robert Brown says we have 35 games left and 30 are with teams still in the playoff hunt. It's going to be very tough, guys.
And 3 of the 35 are at home against St. Louis. We don't even know if those games are even going to mean anything. So really, go to 32 games left, and 30 of them are still in the hunt.
Yeah, interesting. Matthew talked about when I was talking about Luciano not playing in the field. If you just put a young kid at short, he says Chipper Jones hated being a DH. Like you said, he felt like he wasn't even part of the game. The stats back that up as his interleague DH numbers are worse than his career numbers. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a huge thing. This is why.
I only know 2. Through our career of being a sports fan, I probably know 2 guys that loved being a DH and did their job, and that's Big Papi with Boston.
Yeah.
And Martinez with Seattle. And that's it. These guys were great DHs, but it's such a unique situation. All you do is hit. You don't play any defense. Half the time you're not paying attention. It takes a special mind and a special person. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And since the National League has adopted the DH, can you remember in the last 6 years where we've had a good DH?
Giants?
Yeah.
No. Giants haven't had they rotate. They don't have a solid DH. I mean, their best chance, Soler stunk up the first half, but for the most part, but he was starting to get a little heated up toward, the trade deadline for a few
George,
weeks.
You give $1.99 to wish Dan a happy birthday, spend $3 more and become a member.
Where's that? Hey, George, thank you. Appreciate that. He will sign up as a member soon, he says. All right. Thank you, George. Much appreciated. I saw a deal in here with somebody had said something about, let me find it. I think it was Ryan. Let me find it here. Something about players. I'm digging back. We got a lot of guys in the chat tonight. Here it is. Michael, it was. I thought it was Ryan, but it's Michael. Can we discuss how the platoon messed up Luciano, Matos, Fitz, early season, Conforto, etc.? Yeah, I know. It's very interesting to me because I just think this is messing with these young kids, Lou. They don't platoon all the way through the minors.
Nope.
And they get up and they play in Farhan's system, and they have to be a platoon guy. And look what Luciano, even Luciano and Matos, when he was player of the week, and Ramos, first half, they were hitting fine against right-handers.
Yep.
All these runs that Matos was driving in that 1 week, like how many runs did he drive in? Like 16 in 1 week?
Correct.
My goodness. He was the hottest player on the planet, and he was hitting everything. Right-handed, left-handed, didn't matter. Look, if you've got talent, you think Barry Bonds was concerned when he was facing a lefty?
We overthink it too much.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's Barry Bonds, but guys that are meant to be platoon guys are guys like Austin Slater and Yastrzemski, guys with very little major league talent. They're, I'll give Yaz credit. He's a great defensive outfielder. Okay. He's not a solid hitter. He strikes out constantly.
1/3 of the time.
He strikes out way too much. You want to talk about platooning? That's a guy that should be strictly platooned, and he shouldn't even be starting. If you actually have Yaz on this team, he's a defensive replacement and a late inning situational pinch hitter. That's what Yaz needs to be. Yaz needs to stop trying to kill everything and just make contact.
Yeah, I agree. And now here's the other thing. They called up Estrada today, and he did get a hit, but they said he was playing the whole season with problems with his swing. Well, I don't understand. How can someone play half a season where he couldn't grab the bat well and everything? I don't want to hear an excuse. Estrada was batting .216 before he went on the DL. So now we're going to talk about the platoon. Now you got to realize one thing. With McRae playing well, he's strictly in center field. Estrada, because they're paying him so much, he's going to be playing second. So, that's now going to screw up your infield again because you're not going to take Fitzgerald out.
Yeah, no, and Casey's not going to get much playing time. They left him up. Why? I don't understand this. Casey Schmidt is your second-round draft pick. He needs to develop. So if he's not going to – they did the same thing with Luciano. They sat him on the bench for a week and a half, and then they finally sent him down. AAA's ending soon. There's only a few more weeks left. I don't know why in the world Casey's not going to play much unless they're just going to platoon him with Estrada. They're going to give Estrada like days off every other day and let Casey play? Maybe. I don't know. But Robert Brown makes a great point here in the chat. He says that Arizona young guys were allowed to develop by playing, and now they're excelling. You know who he's talking about? He's talking about J.J. McCarthy, their fleet-footed center fielder. He's talking about Pavin Smith, guys like that.
And we talked about this last year when Schmidt came up. He was
Alec Thomas last year in the playoffs. They let guys develop, and they've got Corbin Carroll, who's had a rough year offensively, but he'll bounce back. They've got some other guys. This Del Castillo, he's hitting well for this catcher. He's playing for the injured Gabe Marino, hitting 333.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a platoon.
Yeah.
And then with the injury, he's been playing the whole time.
Right. And Marte's out now.
Yeah, so that was a rough one.
Kevin Newman. Marte's probably out for 10. He's on the 10-day IL, so he should be back.
Their best player, by the way, the whole second half of the season.
Who's
sick and tired of all these Giants fans saying, injuries, injuries. Guys, Atlanta's has 6 guys that could be all-stars. They're done for the season. Okay? Stop talking about injuries. We have who we have, and we're just an average team at best.
Yeah, look at Atlanta. They're all these injuries, and they're still ahead of the Giants. The Giants now have a let me take a look and see exactly what the hold on here. Let me find this here.
And the one thing Dan's trying to bring up is if we would have played the guys last year, when we weren't going anywhere, we wouldn't be in this mess this year because they would have had another, 3/4 of the season under their belt. That's the only way you get better.
It is. And they don't know. I mean, look, sometimes you play guys and they perform and they could become a trade candidate. You increase their trade value. If what Farhan's doing by not playing them, their trade value is going down anyway. Even if they did play and didn't succeed, he's not increasing their value by not playing them. Okay. I want to take a look at this real quick, Lou. The standings now that we've got another game here in the books, another day.
By the way, Dan, I know this wasn't your birthday present, but you saw who the Dodgers released today, right?
I did not. Did they release Ahmed?
They did.
They did release. Oh, poor Nick. The guy's been
who knows with the Giants? Knowing them, since he's doesn't have a job, we'll probably pick him up for nothing.
Well, who did they pick up? They let Ahmad Rosario go a week ago. He was hitting 300.
Yeah, I saw it was either yesterday or today, the Dodgers, because they have all these guys coming back off the DL. And, with Ahmed, he probably didn't want to go to the minors. They just gave him an all-out release.
It's kind of like my fantasy team. I got guys that are all going on the IL. I had Austin Riley, too. And I had Marte, and he's on the IL. And I had Judge Chisholm, who I just traded for, Lou, last week, and he goes on the IL.
Yeah.
I'm having a stroke of bad luck recently with my injuries, but I'm not complaining, Lou. I'm not complaining. No. I'll figure it out. So let's take a look at the standing. Shall we? Can you see that, Lou? I'm not looking at I'm just looking at
I see it.
Okay. So the Giants gained a half game on the idle Braves. They did not gain any on the Diamondbacks, but the Padres were idle tonight, right? Did they play?
No, I thought they won tonight.
Wait a minute. Yes, they did. I'm sorry. So they didn't gain any ground there. So they're 3.5 back. They're still 5 back in the loss column. Again, you're 3.5 out. It's easier to make up wins. You cannot make up losses because you have no control.
Yeah.
You have to have the Braves lose. So the Braves basically have a 5-game lead in the loss column, but it's really 6, guys. It's really 6. The Braves have to lose 6 more games than the Giants lose.
Yeah, because that tiebreaker was huge.
Yes. So think about that, guys. Giants have 35 games remaining, and they need to make up 6 games in the loss column. So that means if the Giants have 35 left and Atlanta has played 126, they have 36 left. Am I doing my math right, Lou? I'm doing it in my head.
I was looking up something on the Mets. I'm sorry.
That's all right. 70 and 56 is 126. Yeah. So they have 36 games left. Okay, let's say Atlanta, because they're hurting, they've got 36 games. Let's say Atlanta goes 15-21, and they finish 500. Is that right? 15-21. That means the Giants
81.
Giants have 64 wins.
That's them 81 and 83.
No, 81 and 81.
Yeah, but because if you go, they go 15-21, they're still too short.
Oh, that's right. They have. Wait a minute.
So if they'd have to go 15-23. That would be the one.
They have 38 games left. Hold on. 66 plus 58. 124. I did my math wrong. Okay. So that makes a huge difference. Let's say they go 17-21. Okay? Let's just say 17-21, Atlanta. And let's not even factor in the Mets right now. 17-21 would get them to 83 wins. 83-79. That means the Giants need to go 20-15. Did I do that? No.
No,
wait a minute. They've 17-21. Yeah, that's right. That would put the Braves with 83 wins and 79 losses. The Giants, to beat them, would have to go win 84 games.
They would need to go 20
and 15. 84 and 78. That's exactly right. Okay.
Yeah.
So are the Giants going to win 20 of 35 with this schedule? That's 571 ball. They haven't, Lou, they're going to the gauntlet of a schedule.
No, they haven't even gone through the gauntlet yet.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to go through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And
the other thing too, Dan, and we brought this up, the Mets still have a 4-game series against the White Sox. San Diego and Arizona, and those two still get to play Colorado.
Oh, they're not catching those two anyway.
Yeah. So
the only way they catch those two teams, Lou, or one of them,
they'd have to sweep them at home and on the road.
They basically have to win at least 5 of 6, but ideally 6, because how far back are they of the right now? They are 7.5 behind the Padres and 6.5 behind the Diamondbacks. I don't see it happening. They're not going to sweep them. They're not going to sweep 6 games from them. They'll be lucky to split those teams. Mark Graves says it all there, Lou. Look at this. 20 and 15 for a team that can't win 4 in a row. Not happening.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they have to win the next 2 to get their 4-game winning streak.
I mean, I just think if you just say first of all, they can't lose any of these games against the White Sox, and they're going against
Crochet on Wednesday,
pitcher tomorrow, and a stud on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then you go to Seattle, where you're going to get 3 studs.
Yeah.
Then you go to Milwaukee. Okay.
Right.
That's almost going to be impossible. Then you come home and you have Miami. The thing about Miami is they don't have a great record, but they have good starting pitching. Right. But then after Miami, you then have Arizona. Then you have to go down to San Diego for 3. Then you come home for Milwaukee with their great pitching and San Diego again. And we haven't even spoken about our last road trip of the year. You think that's going to be tough? After we go against San Diego, Milwaukee, and San Diego, we finally get a day off and we go to Baltimore for 3.
Kansas City.
American League. Kansas City, who's won 8 out of 9. And then you go down to Arizona for another 3. I mean, that is the Giants, when after the trade deadline, had the second easiest schedule. Now, because of different circumstances, they have the second hardest schedule, guys.
Right.
You know, and the majority of it's on the road.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and we all know how it is. Baltimore, you don't know how the weather's going to be. It could be extremely hot. You could have rain delays. Kansas City, I mean, they have the most exciting shortstop, you know, in a long time right now playing, who's almost going to probably use one of the top 5 MVP balloters. You know, guys, it's not easy, you know. Plus, again, these other teams, like we have the White Sox now, they have the White Sox and they have Colorado. You know, we don't have that anymore. After this, we have Miami, who always plays us tough.
Yes. What do you think the Giants' playoff odds are right now, Lou?
I'd say, considering the thing, 12%.
I haven't looked yet. I'm going to say 8. 7 to 8. Let's take a look.
Maybe I'm too high, yeah.
Can you see this? Projected win total, 81.6.
That doesn't get a sense. Not even sniffing.
Their playoffs, 9%. They've gone up. This is on Fangraphs. 9%. I'll bet you the Braves drop. Let's see what their Braves are.
You got to at least have 85 wins. Don't you think?
I think minimum 85 will, yeah. I do. I think, and if the Braves end up with 85, you got to have 86. So, I mean, likely the Braves finish with about an 85 and 77 record. They'll figure something out. That means the Giants got to get to 86 wins. I don't see that happening. That means they've got 35 games to go, and they'd have to win 22, go 22-13. Again, if the Giants do that, they will be a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs if they make it. If they get that hot.
But again, after the 2 White Sox teams, you have 3 games against Miami. Everybody else is 500 or better.
Yeah. Look at the Dodgers odds and the Padres. 99.9. The Dodgers are just, they're going in. Padres.
And they're getting healthy.
Yeah. Padres, 95. Although Freeman's got a fractured finger, I heard. Diamondbacks, 87%. 99% basically for the Brewers. Wow, the Cardinals only 4%. So basically what they're saying is the wild cards are the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and then they're projecting the Braves or the Mets.
That's what I'm saying.
That's 9% for the Giants. If we look at the Dan, we've
been saying this all year. How can a franchise be happy where the Giants are, how much they're paying? We're hoping to be the 3rd wild card. Nothing about the division, nothing about the first place wild card, nothing. But we're happy if we're close to the 3rd wild card. Growing up, we would never even talk like this. Remember, 10 years ago, world champions. 12 years ago, world champions. I don't understand why we've fallen so far down.
Well, this is why Farhan has to go, Lou. Yeah. He has to go. Look at the odds of the Giants winning the World Series. 0.4. 0.4.
God, that sounds like my...
What's hilarious to me is they are not mathematically eliminated from winning the division, but they're listed to win the division with a 0% chance. So it's kind of funny when you see that.
Well, 0%. That's the other thing, Dan, is what? About the second week of September, they'll start putting the magic numbers up to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And to win the division.
The Phillies, the Dodgers are still 16% favored to win the World Series, and the Phillies are at 12.7. And the Yankees, it's exactly what I thought it might be when I looked at the first half. I said, I think it could be Dodgers, Yankees, although I did predict Orioles, Phillies in the preseason as my two World Series teams. But, the Giants, look at the Royals, guys. Look at the Twins. 5.8% chance to win the World Series. Look at the Guardians, 4.6. The 4.6 chance to win the World Series, and they're in first place. So what makes you think the Giants have any shot?
And Dan, about the Royals, when we won the World Series against the Royals, 2 years after that, they kept their catcher, they kept one pitcher, they traded everything else, and they went and played the youth. And now look at them.
Yeah, they're on the way up.
They're on their way up. And if you take that out, they have a superstar who's only 23 years old. Their catcher's 34 years old, Perez, but he's been there for a long time. Their kids are young. They got a much better farm system than us. People don't realize when we call our guys up, our farm system might be, rated 13th, but when they lose 2 of their prospects to come us, we go from 13 to 20. One of the things when Farhan came in, they said our farm system was going to be better. It's not better right now. If it was better, we wouldn't have all these problems with Luciano. We're not sure. My God, it's like how many times in the offseason do we talk about all these great guys and single high A ball or, double A. and we never see him. I mean, I'm still waiting for that guy Brown. That's all I ever heard about, how good this guy is. And the other thing is, guys, they might hit great in AAA, but when you go to the pros, that's why it's the pros. It's a different game. You know, you could hit 28 homers, like Rob Deere is always one of my favorites. You know, Rob Deere would hit 35 homers in AAA. He'd come to the pros, he'd be lucky to hit 20 with 250 strikeouts. You know, it's different. Oh, Dan, you're on mute.
I got a chuckle here because Rooster says, Danny, you do the math every night the last week or so. Just how bad can you screw it up every night when doing the same math? Just one game left because of the pressure. The pressure. I gotta come up with it. No, I don't retain it from the night before. Actually, I got so many numbers floating through my head on a daily basis. But now I've got it. I got it, Rooster. 35 games to go, and Bub Rad tells me they need to go 22-13, which would get them to 86 wins. And that still might not be enough because if the Braves finish with 86, look at the Braves. What was the Braves record again? 60.
Let me take a look.
Take a look. Tell me what the Braves are at. They didn't play. I know they have 58 losses. Or no. Yeah, 58 losses. Are they 64-58? Is that what Atlanta is?
They are 66-58.
Okay.
8 games over.
They're 66-58. Now, the Giants are 64-63. That 5-game loss is going to kill them. Because that's a 6-game. You got to make up 6 games. So I don't see how they do that. I really don't. Who holds the tiebreaker between them and the Mets?
I was just going to look that up.
Because when they went back to New York, let me look at the schedule here. So I remember that's when they started playing well. That was like in May. They played the Mets. Yeah, they played the Mets. They won 2 of 3 in New York. And they won 2 of 3. Okay, they own the tiebreaker with the Mets. They won 4 of 6. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
And then, hey, Dan, my buddy who, of course, won the squares, who went with me, I got to meet his great family, Stuart from Sacramento.
Yeah, kitchen handy, man.
Yeah, he brings up a point the Giants did in 2014.
Is he in here tonight? There he is. Yeah, there he is.
2014 was a completely different team. Completely different. Okay? We had a better bullpen.
Yes.
We had guys that could hit in the clutch. We've never seen a team that, you know, during the World Series years, those guys could actually hit with runners in scoring position. That wasn't our problem. You know, the other thing, too, is when you went there, there was only 1 wild card. Now there's 3. So we're having more problems now. So don't compare to what happened before.
Oh, he's pretty funny. The other night,
it's completely different.
The other night, Greg Papa, I thought to myself, boy, these poor guys on the Giants postgame after a Giants loss, they have to fish for anything to keep people listening. He said to Romo, Sergio Romo's on the set, and he says, you know, Romo, you guys, this team has some similarities in the fight. They have a lot of fight like your 2014 team had. And Romo goes, I love the fight that these guys show, but these 2 teams aren't comparable.
Not comparable at all.
He said a 2014 team. He took a little shot, it sounded like to me. He said our 2014 team made some big moves at the deadline to make us better. And he said, you know, we had the other guys, you know, you had Buster, you had Belt, you had Crawford, you had Panda, you had Pence, and you had the guys in the in the pitching. You had Mad Bum, you had Kane, you had Vogelsong, you had, I mean, Timmy was kind of coming in and out of the pen.
Core 4 in the pen.
Yeah, and you had the core 4, and you had Bruce Bochy.
Big difference. You know, we said that all year.
You had Brian Sabian.
We'll take Bochy, the way he handled the bullpen and the starters, for granted. We now see what makes a Hall of Fame manager and an average manager, someone safe, like what we have now.
And you also had the leader of the organization in Brian Sabian. And don't you think that doesn't mean a thing? We've had Ned Colletti on this show many times. And when Ned talks about how Brian and Ned, when they were with the Giants together, they had their finger on the pulse of what was happening with the club.
Yep.
And when guys were struggling, I remember a story that I don't remember who it might have been. It might have been FP Santangelo that was signed. And Sabes, he was down, and Sabes went to him. And
I remember this.
And he said, hey, we don't make mistakes. And, you know, when you hear that from your leader, it makes you feel like, man, I've got, you know, these guys believe in me. Farhan, he doesn't. Can you imagine? Could you see Farhan going up to a player? I mean,
I don't even think he goes to the players. Because remember, we heard the rumor that he lived down in L.A.
What would Farhan look like if he went up to a player? Hey guys, I really believe in you guys, and you know what? I don't make mistakes. I don't make any mistakes. When I get a ball player, I believe in him, and I keep with him. I actually platoon guys, but you know, come on, this is Farhan.
Yeah.
Clown. Let me put my bald head back. I shaved today, Lou, for my birthday. I shaved my goatee off, and I just shaved my head completely. I just said, you know what? Just shave it. It's hot. I had to take shower number 2 before my pregame show. It's so hot here in Arizona. We're in you've heard of 2-a-days in high school and college. You got 2-a-days practice. You heard the term 2-a-days. Anybody that played football knows what 2-a-days is. It's 2-a-days in Arizona right now. It's getting a little humid. I'm feeling the humidity pick up, and so it's 2 showers a day. Anyway.
You know, I'm just looking right now. When we talk about 2012, of course, you had the 2 big trades, right, with Pence and Blockbuster. And then 2014, people forget probably the biggest trade at the trade deadline. He was 1-8 with Boston, with Jake Peavy.
Yeah.
People don't realize how great he was.
Yeah.
And, you know, with Farhan, except for Chris Bryant, I've never thought he's ever gotten anyone with any talent.
Nope. He hasn't.
Everything around him is safe.
Everything. That's why you will never win a thing with Farhan. And I don't know when ownership's going to wake up. Do they really believe? Let me see if I can look the owners right in the eye here. All right. Let me get a little closer. Who's ever running the organization? Greg Johnson, rest of the ownership group, Larry Baer. Are you guys really? Look me in the eye, guys. Do you really think the Giants will win a World Series championship with Farhan Zaidi running the ship with this club the way he's operated with all the platoon crap? Do you really believe that you're going to win a World Series title with him? I mean, that should be the answer right now. And if the answer, which I can tell you is a resounding no, you're not going to do anything with Farhan, then fire him. Look, we hear stuff, people get on Kyle Shanahan, and some of it's, justified, right, Lou?
Yep.
I mean, some of the things that Kyle does is justified. But you could go, well, who are we going to get that's better than Kyle? You probably can count on one hand that might be better than Kyle. But there's 30 teams, and there's team managers or guys in the that are not even in baseball. I can go out and find a guy just myself, and I'm not qualified to do it, but I can interview people and find somebody better than Farhan easily.
I agree.
And I have no qualifications. All I got to do is just talk to people and find out their passion, their background, what they would do. Because I've interviewed enough people and I could figure it out and I know baseball, so I know what to ask. But, I'm not the qualified guy to do it. But who is qualified at the Giants? Who's running the ship? Who's calling the shots to bring Farhan Zaidi in? You got guys like Brian Sabian, who's with the Yankees, who's an assistant to Brian Cashman, who could run circles around Farhan. You got Ned Colletti, who's been out of the game for a while, but still is right in touch with what's going on in the game. He could step in. Do you know, Ned, I was reading his stats, and his last 25 years in the game as a GM and assistant GM was 432 games above 500. If you took 432 and divided it by 25, that's 17 games above 500 a year. What is that? 89 and 73?
What it takes to
90 and 72, right in between there. That's a playoff team every year.
Yep. I think, Dan, you brought up a great point when you first started this show. The Giants have the money. You got to go to someone. Like, I'd be looking right now for someone, Baltimore assistant GM. I'd be looking for, as you always say, whoever's in charge of Tampa Bay. It's a small market team. Double the price and get him here with an unlimited payroll. Because let me tell you, they have a lot tougher job being in the American League East than the NL West out here. These guys have great minds. They were the ones that started with the bullpen starter. They don't have huge payrolls. You've been saying this for 2-3 years. Look at right now. People don't even realize before they sort of took a tank the second half, the Detroit Tigers had a better record than us. But you know what's amazing? What Detroit did? They went to the Giants and said, who is like sort of your assistant? Do you remember they snagged the guy from the Giants to run now, Detroit?
Yeah.
The other thing, why do we have so many great deals with their guys in Seattle? Because we have the connection. So we lose all our great guys, but we don't go out to other teams and go after them because of pride.
Correct.
I mean, my God, there's we have the money. Let's use the money wisely.
Yeah, absolutely, Lou. It's mind-boggling. Kitchen Handy Spencer, our friend Spencer, says, did Ned ever win a World Series as a GM? No, he got close. He didn't even get to the World Series. He lost in the National League Championship Series a couple of times as the Dodgers GM. But he really did turn that franchise around. They were down. Do you know who Ned actually drafted? You want to hear a guy that a club that actually could draft players and do some developing? Let me give you a list. I wrote this down here.
And then, Dan, also include who they found from other teams.
Yeah, let me
giant killers. Like we get Yaz. Okay, Yaz.
Yeah.
That's nothing. Tell them also who they got from the A's, little Will Smith, killers, and then who they drafted. And we're not even in the ballpark.
Yeah. Listen to some of these players that were involved.
And it's not like they always get the number 1 or 2 pick.
Ned Colletti. Here's some of the high players that they were drafted under Ned Colletti. Clayton Kershaw, Corey Seager, Kenley Jansen. And he was drafted as a pitcher. They made him into a catcher. They got Justin Turner, I believe, free agency, I think. Wasn't he with the Mets at one point? I think. Cody Bellinger, they drafted. Jock Peterson. All these guys right now have something in common. They're still playing the game some 10, 12 years later. He also signed free agent Ryu. I always forget his first name, the lefty.
Oh, that pitcher.
Yeah, the lefty Ryu.
Yeah.
And he also got Cy Young, former Cy Young, Zach Greinke.
Oh, God, big giant killer.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the Giants were going to get him in the offseason, too.
When he went and you know what? And they didn't have the Dodgers back then. They did not have the highest payrolls.
No.
They were like between 8 and 15 generally, if you look it up. But these guys, I mean, Ned would be a great fit for the Giants because he knows the Dodgers organization. He knows the Giants organization. He's a teacher. He's a trainer. He's a teacher. I mean, he teaches at Pepperdine. He would be able to raise up a staff. See, what makes somebody really good is somebody who can bring somebody along. What did Sabian do? He developed Ned Colletti. Ned Colletti then went on. Oh. What did Bill Walsh do? He wasn't just a great coach. Look at his tree.
Yeah.
Look at his tree. All the great coaches that came out of Bill Walsh.
Nick Saban.
Yeah. I mean, it's just on and on. Andy Reid, same thing. Guys, you got to have leaders. Who came out of Gabe Kapler's tree? Farhan. Farhan and Gabe were together with the Dodgers. Then he goes and he brings them here. What has Farhan done? Give me one thing that Farhan has done that shows that he can sustain success. Forget 21. Everybody wants to throw out that 107 win season. Look, that was a great magical year, but it obviously is not sustainable. And it was not something that, will probably ever happen again like that with that kind of a club. So what has Farhan done? What success has Farhan done in baseball besides 21? He's been in baseball since like 14, 15, 13, 12, whatever, when he was with the A's.
Yeah, right place at the right time.
Yeah, I don't see any history of sustained success. It's just like, you know what? Everybody can claim something like, I could remember guys that were great in sales. I had guys I hired and like, oh man, salesman of the month. And he's like, and then, 8 months later, he's getting fired because he hasn't sold anything for 4 or 5 months. He had one big month, and I see it all the time.
Hey, Dad, I'll bring something up to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw tonight, Arizona won again on the road.
Yep.
Jock Peterson hit his 20th homer. He has 68 RBIs.
68 RBIs.
That's a deal for $9.3 million. We signed Solar for I think
13.
Yeah. And he didn't even come close. Here's a guy he let get away for less money with better power.
You don't have enough guys around him, and then they just don't know how to use guys right here. They don't have – look, when Farhan builds a team, I looked at the opening day lineup and I said, this scares nobody. This lineup scares nobody. I said, they are going to struggle to score runs. Who's going to drive in the runs with this lineup? And you know what? We're now 130
games in.
7 games in or whatever the Giants have played. They're 64 and 63. Yeah, 127 games in. They've got 35 to go, and we're still looking at the same thing. I think Chapman must lead the team in RBIs now because I think he surpassed Ramos when Ramos
Remember, Ramos, 6 weeks less playing.
Yes. If I look at the Giants stats right here, let me pull them up here, and I'll just take a look and see what the stats look like. Okay. Oh my goodness. Batting average. The leader on the team in batting average with enough at bats is Chapman at 247. Home runs, 20, Chapman. RBIs, 62, Chapman. Runs, he's doing pretty good in runs, 84. On base percentage, 336. That's pathetic. That's leading the team.
How about strikeouts? He's up there too.
He's leading the team in hits. OPS, 782. Slugging, 446. Doubles, 31. Base on balls, 58. Strikeouts, he leads. Chapman leads almost every category. At bats, strikeouts, games played. Let me see this RBI total because.
Yeah, so he's got 62. Ramos
58. Yeah. And Ramos has, like you said, probably about 150 or more or less at bats. It's probably about 165.
122 more at bats.
122? Okay. Yep. That's it? I thought it was a lot more.
No, just 122 more at bats.
Wow.
It's a lot more games, obviously, but yeah. Because, he's been playing a lot, but, only 4 more RBIs.
Matos played for like 3 weeks, and he's 9th on the team in RBIs.
Yep.
He played like 3 weeks. 24 RBIs for Matos. Wow.
Conforto, too. Just, ugh.
So let me ask you this. Okay, let me read Aaron's comment, and then we'll ask the chat this. Farhan will get a pass from ownership as he'll point to Fitz, Bailey, and Carcino, Ramos, Harrison, Birdsong, etc. as something to build off going forward, and they'll buy it. Of course, they'll buy it because they're dumb. Giants ownership is dumb.
But also, they don't make the playoffs. It doesn't matter about these kids that are having, decent years. You don't make the playoffs, especially with the new third wild card. You guys got to remember, when the Giants won in 2010, 12, and 14, it wasn't 3 teams. Okay? Guys, you got to remember that. You used to have to win the division when me and Dan used to go to Candlestick. There was no wild card. The wild card was only developed because the Giants won 103 games and Atlanta won 104.
Right, exactly.
That was the only reason why a wild card even went into effect.
Yep. Robert Brown says Farhan saves money with his money ball. Cliff says, I will give Farhan credit. He kept my bank account look very nice as I've stopped buying merch and Giants tickets since he came on board. Exactly.
What kind of merch are you going to buy? Who are you going to buy? Who would you spend $100 on a jersey?
Yeah, exactly.
Except would have to spend $25 on 2 Giants hats.
Yeah, and I get Lou while you keep your tickets. I get on some people that support the Giants, and I've said so. But you and I have talked about this in person. I'm not saying anything I haven't told you. I totally understand why you keep those seats because those are the best seats in the ballpark. If they
weren't the best seats, I wouldn't go. Like when friends ask me, I go, Where do you sit? Does it also give you a telescope? I'd rather spend $10 and sit in the bleachers and have fun that has great food than spending money anywhere else where I got to pay $80 to $100.
Right. Plus, you're going in on those tickets with like 3 others, right?
It's family, so we have one partner.
Yeah, so it's family. I get it.
It's 81 games,
right?
At home, so I have tickets for basically 40, so I only have to worry about 13. As you know, being a season ticket holder, you were in charge of all 81.
Yeah, it was, and it was tough because, I did fine in 21. I made money because they were playing great, and I could sell the tickets, the games I didn't go to. I could sell them for over what they cost me, especially when the Dodgers came to town. I made, big money on those games I didn't go attend. And the playoffs, I was in Idaho at the time. I was living up there. I had moved up there, so I didn't come to those. I sold them big time. But 22, when they started losing, I couldn't get rid of my tickets and then the Giants started undercutting me. And then 23, I was like, I'm not renewing for 23 because what they did in 22, thank God I didn't renew, because they, with all these discounts that they've come out with, I mean,
don't tell me about that. The other thing, guys, I'm going to bring up something. Starting this weekend, there's a thing called college football that starts. The following weekend, it's a full slate every Saturday of college football.
Right.
Then the following weekend, NFL dominates. So when the Giants come home to play teams like Miami, Milwaukee, San Diego, and everyone's talking about the Niners, that place will be empty. Yeah. And as soon as they go where the Giants are eliminated, they won't even get 10,000 because all the priorities, all the money. And then the other thing, too, is people keep forgetting down where the Giants play, you have the Warriors right around the corner.
Right.
So a lot of the money has gone there. It's just one of those things that, unless you have great seats, and we've talked about this for the last couple of years. I know the Giants, they said tonight, I think they said they had 28,000 for the White Sox. They didn't even have one section even full. They look more about 18,000. So disregard that because there's only so many season ticket holders. They had a thing, I think, for the Wednesday game where they're not selling anything, where I think I told Dan last week, tickets are $5 for a day game at Oracle Park. Now, they're not the best seats, but, when you don't get a full house, you can do like old school. Get in and move wherever you want. $5, and they're running out of giveaways. So I don't know what they're going to do. Tonight, they did a thing where they had, what's the thing? They did some kind of light show because they weren't selling. So they're just trying to get people out. They're running out of ideas.
They just keep doing stuff. Is it Mickey Mouse ears or whatever?
Oh, that was ridiculous. So, and the tickets, right now they're desperate to sell, so they're going to lower it. And that's why Dan got rid of the seats. Being a season ticket holder, they make you pay in October.
Yeah.
And then in February, they're doing.
Well, I told Larry Bear flat out, I was in the press box at Scottsdale Stadium in 23. And when I had the media credentials covering the Giants, and Larry walked in and I introduced myself to him, and he first started to walk away, right? He didn't even want to talk to me. And then, I had my media credentials on, and then I said, hey, I'm also a season ticket holder. He's like, whoa, hey, did you renew? And I said, no, I'm not renewing. He says, oh, come on, why not? And I said, because two things. One, you guys undersell me, my tickets. When I try and sell the ones I don't go to, you're selling all these promos, giving away tickets, and I'm fronting the bill. And two, I don't think the product is worth paying for anymore because of what you guys aren't going out and making good, solid moves. And he says, oh, well, come on, stick with us. You can buy a certain package. Here, give me a call. Here's my number to my secretary, and all this. But anyway, it's just, but Robert Brown says his brother and him and his two brothers keep our great seats because they love baseball. Since tickets are behind visitors' dugout, they still sell much. They still sell, but much harder than years ago. Yeah. I mean, look, if I didn't have to front the bill, if I had somebody like, my brothers, one's really more of an A's fan and the other's a Giants fan, but he doesn't have the time to go. And if I had a couple of buddies that I was going to go in on with them, and maybe I had a 25% owners of it, I would do that. But
still, it's always about the product.
Yeah, and the product. That's my main thing. I don't want to support. But take a look at this, Lou. The Giants sent me a birthday wish today, but what I really want to show you is the price of the tickets they're sending me. Check this out. They sent me a birthday, and then they also sent a little, hey, buy these tickets. All right, here you go. Oops, let me rewind it.
Is that okay? They're talking, yeah.
Hold on here. I gotta get the There we go. Oops, I didn't.
What you're saying?
No, I forgot to hit the volume again. Hold on.
This is pitcher Logan Webb. This is Jordan Hicks. This is Robbie Ray wishing you a very happy birthday.
Got him! And that's the ball game.
Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you out at the ballpark soon.
All right. Now check this out. Come celebrate with us. Enjoy a buy one, get one ticket to your next Giants game for a limited time. Enter the offer code that you received in your birthday email and select the games you wished. Not game, but games. I can buy one, get one free right now. Not bad.
Sounds like a hot item.
Not bad. If anybody wants to go to the ball game, send me some money. I'll buy you tickets. You could buy one, get one free. Is it so? 2 tickets for the price of 1. So
obviously, they're top-notch seats because they don't offer the bleachers because that's actually probably the best ticket every game that they sell.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I have a friend that's got tickets in right field. So he pays $27.33, but he also gets a $15 food voucher, which is not bad. No alcohol, but still you get a food voucher.
Yeah. So Lou, we've got over 175 in here right now, and we're looking at Giants. We've talked ad nauseum about the Giants. I think we beat that to death. In our final 10 minutes here before we close this out, what do you think with the Niners? How do you see this thing playing out this year?
Well, the main thing is they got to figure out Ayuk. Got to take care of that. I think if they don't take care of it soon, especially with only one more preseason game, I think it's going to become a distraction. I think the best part about the game yesterday is I think they figured out who their backup quarterback is.
You think it's Dobbs, or you think it's?
I think it's Dobbs. I think he won the job yesterday. I'm a little bit worried about our health. CMC not going. I'm a little worried. Our first round draft pick still hasn't played. They're not going to play him. So now you're literally going to tell someone who hasn't played, contact, coming off an injury, hey, let's go. I know it's preseason, but he's also not practicing with the team. You're not getting the reps. He's in a very unique situation where, say they do trade Ayuk. I don't think it's going to happen, but say they do. He's got to fill in for us. And if you're not 100%, it might take him 2 or 3 weeks. I think the Niners this year, this is it. They got to get their stuff together because I think this is the year they have to go to New Orleans and win it.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, the Rams, I think, are better this year than last year.
Yeah.
I think nobody's talking about Seattle at all. And the thing I'm worried about Seattle is I don't know if you guys realize who they got in the offseason to run their defense. I don't know if you guys remember last year, Christmas night, super great game. I was all fired up when the Baltimore Ravens came in.
Yeah.
And the Niners were lost. They didn't realize what kind of scheme was going at. We're now going to have to face that same scheme twice a year.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So they got,
right.
And this is what the Giants don't do. Here's Seattle said, we have a problem. Our biggest opponent is the Niners. Who stopped them? I want that guy to run our defense. I want that guy. They figured out something that nobody else could do in the league. So
are you saying the Giants should go out and hire 29 other pitching coaches then from the other teams? You got
to get someone that can try to beat
all 29 other teams. Stop the Giants.
Yeah, well, that's sort of simple, but that's a good call, Dan.
I got to answer.
Niners too. We didn't win the Super Bowl because of injuries. We got to make sure that we stay healthy. I think, CMC last year, I think it was over 440 touches. It was something amazing because I heard the stat over the weekend. I think health, and I think the one thing about the Niners, I don't think their schedule is as easy as people make it out to be. You know, you can't always expect. I look at the last 2 games. Okay. We lost to Kansas City, right? We got outplayed. Right. Yes, we did have injuries, but I think people got to go to the 2 playoff games that we had at home. I think we got very lucky to beat the Lions.
Outplayed in both of them.
I think we got lucky to beat the Lions. I think we got extremely lucky to beat the Packers.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, we basically have the same team, but we might be losing our star wide receiver. How are we going to compete with these other teams?
Remember, I think they peaked early last year. The Niners.
They could have. The thing about the Niners, it's Super Bowl or bust. The thing with the Giants, well, there's 3 wild cards. Maybe we can get into the 3rd. It's a completely different mind.
Absolutely. And the Warriors the same. They want to win it all.
And the thing about the Niners, if you guys notice, we didn't draft CMC. We realized we had a situation. We gave up draft picks. Also, remember, the Niners made a major flub 3 years ago where they traded 2 number 1s for 2 years, 2 seconds for a guy they thought was going to be like Holmes.
Right.
Didn't work out. They cut their losses. They got rid of them. They got very lucky where, you know, they got the wide receiver of the future. But, you know, the thing about the Niners is they have great coaching, but you also have a leader who hasn't won the big one yet. You know, you got to realize it's so, first of all, it's hard enough to get in the playoffs. Then you need a little luck. Then you get in the Super Bowl, and you got to get really lucky. You know, injuries health-wise, you know, you get that 2-week break, you know, where the other team can scheme against you. I mean, yeah, you have Mahomes, right? But every time the Niners were in the Super Bowl, I always thought we were going to win. You know, when you go back, when we last time
should have beat Baltimore and should have beat the Chiefs.
When we were in New Orleans, we actually got a break. If people forget, it was the Harbaugh brothers, the Niners were down at halftime. They were getting blown out, and then they had the power outage.
Right.
They came back. They had a chance to win it, and Harbaugh, like an idiot, did the same play 3 straight times on the fade. It didn't work out. The next Super Bowl, the Niners had a 3rd and 18 to stop. 3rd and 18. All you had to do was bat the damn ball down. And, of course, Holmes completed it. We lost. Last year, you know, I thought the Niners played great, but they just didn't get it. They had a few injuries, you know, but they still had a chance to win it. And all they had to do is stop Holmes one time. One time, and they couldn't do it.
They stopped him the whole game for the most part. They didn't get a TD. The only TD they got was they got the TD off the muff punt, and then they got the final drive in overtime. That's it.
The breaks.
Yeah. Hey,
that's what it takes to win. You know?
I want to address this Cliff Martinez comment earlier. It's a baseball comment, but Cliff, are you living down in the Southern California area? I used to live in
San Diego, Rancho Cucamonga.
I used to live right there. I got many clients right now in Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario. I used to live, in fact, 2 of my kids were born in Upland. My first 2 children were born in Upland, California. I used to go to the Quakes games in the 80s. That's how long they've been there. They built that stadium in the 80s, and now it's the minor league. I think is it low A, Cliff, or high A? They're with the Dodgers. I think it might be. I'm not sure if it's low A or high A. Can't remember. But Cucamonga and then Lake Elsinore. Yeah. There's nothing like minor league baseball is great. So cool. Cliff, I didn't know you were down that way.
Dan, one thing about I'll bring up, you're talking about minor league baseball. You ever get a chance, go to the San Jose Giants. Great thing. They do a great job down there.
Yeah.
You know, they have a thing called the star player where the opponent's best player, when he strikes out Or if they get him out, it's $3. It's dollar sodas. If he strikes out, it's $3 beers until the next inning.
Oh, that's awesome! So everybody's cheering for him to strike out.
Yeah, the whole crowd goes crazy. But it's a great product. Tickets are super, super affordable. So I always recommend the San Jose Giants. Okay. But get back to the Niners, Dan. I mean, did you watch any of the game yesterday? What did you think of it? I know you had a post-game show with Larry.
Yeah, I thought, I thought a few players stood out. Obviously, Dobbs looked good. Yeah. I really like Cowing on, he looked really good to me. Defensively, there was a few guys that stood out, Bethune and Robinson, the linebackers. I also liked Jair Brown. He had a big hit for a loss in the backfield. I thought that was pretty good. But, are
you a fan of the rookie from Arizona, Mr. Cowing?
Yeah, I just mentioned him. Yeah, Cowing. I do like Cowing. I think he's going to play a factor this year. I think he's going to come up with some big catches on third down.
Fast. I mean, he's smaller, but he actually was one of the few guys that turned the whole entire Arizona Wildcats around. And he was really the only player. So I'm very excited the Niners got him late. I think he'll fit right into the system. Yeah.
Aaron Law says, can't beat churro night. Oh, beer batter. I love churros. Ooh. Aaron also mentioned one of the reasons the Giants lost both Super Bowls besides Patrick Mahomes. How about Chris Jones? Gosh, he dominated.
One guy. I've never seen a guy in bigger games bat the ball down more.
Oh, my goodness. Niners. Oh, geez. Yeah. It's interesting. That's a pet peeve. The Niners have very small. Aaron Banks is pretty good size, but the right side of the offensive line, the interior between the center and right guard have always been kind of small.
I agree.
And they go up against these massive guys in this, like Chris Jones. They just can't, he manhandles the Niners smaller guys. It's like you think, okay, we got to get through Kansas City. Let's draft another Mauler. Let's get a big, tough guard. I don't know. It's crazy, but we got to get out of here, Lou, because I try to keep this definitely to under 2 hours.
No problem.
Appreciate you joining. We'll talk a little bit more in the green room here, but let me get the music going.
Thanks, Chad. Good job tonight.
Yeah, chat. Great to have you guys in here.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou. Appreciate that. Guys, appreciate you all being here. Love having you guys in this chat. Remember, we're here after every Giants game, post-game, and we're doing the pregame now, about 20 minutes, anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes before, kind of shortening them up. So probably 20 minutes before game first pitch, we'll do a quick pregame, talk about what to look for, what I see happening, and also who I'll predict the winner. And so we've also got a morning show starting that started a little over a week ago. We're meeting at 10 o'clock every morning, short show. We'll talk about the hottest things going on. It may be nationally, it may be right here in the Bay Area sports world, but appreciate the birthday wishes from everybody. Kyle, Ron, guys, thank you so much for joining the show. Thanks to Lou Marston for stepping in again. And we'll see you tomorrow at 10 for the morning show, and tomorrow night pregame show 6:25. All right, everybody, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.